Karen knew how to stir trouble, but this time she went too far. It started on a Wednesday morning, 6:48 a.m., when a video popped up on the HOA Facebook group. The caption read, "Caught this creep sneaking through my yard again. Do something before someone gets hurt." The video showed a blurry man in a hoodie rolling through a backyard in the dark. The face wasn't clear, but the wheelchair was. And in their tight-knit community of Pineborough Estates, there was only one man who used a wheelchair, James Tillman. Within minutes, comments flooded in. "That guy? Again? He always gave me bad vibes." I knew something was off with him. By the time James woke up and rolled into his kitchen for his morning coffee, the neighborhood had already decided he was guilty. Except he wasn't. He hadn't left his house the night before. Not once. Bailey, his wife, was already reviewing the footage by the time HOA called an emergency meeting. And she knew something most people didn't. The video was fake. Not mistaken identity, fake. Not blurry footage, fake. AI fake. Someone had used deepfake software to overlay James's face onto a trespasser's body. The background lighting didn't match. The compression patterns were inconsistent. And the real kicker? The video metadata had been wiped. Classic cover-up move. Bailey knew the signs. She'd spent nearly a decade as an AI ethics consultant for a federal cybersecurity division before moving into teaching. Now she taught computer science at the local high school. But even without her background, something felt off. Too perfect. Too targeted. Too Karen. Karen Dorsey lived 2 houses down. She'd hated James since the day he moved in, said his wheelchair ramp ruined the uniformity of the street, complained his medical van was too noisy, called his mailbox an eyesore. James never fought back, never raised his voice, just waved, smiled, stayed polite. Bailey, though? She saw the way Karen glared from behind her curtains, the way she tightened her grip on her coffee mug whenever James passed by. Then there was the incident with Ava, Karen's teenage daughter, spray painting the fence at the neighborhood park. James had caught her in the act and simply said, "Hey, maybe think twice before tagging public property." Ava ran home crying, and that was the spark. Karen wasn't the type to take humiliation lightly, especially not from someone she already decided didn't belong. So she retaliated. By using tech she barely understood, Karen had found a free trial for a popular deepfake app. She downloaded it, uploaded stock trespassing footage, and ran a crude overlay using photos of James pulled from Facebook. The result? A 12-second clip that looked convincing enough to fool the average neighbor scrolling through social media before work. She uploaded it, waited, watched the neighborhood burn. What she didn't expect. Bailey had students, smart ones, and one of them had already messaged her. "Ms. Anderson, I think someone deepfaked your husband." Bailey closed her laptop, looked out the window. Across the street, Karen stood on her porch, sipping coffee with a smirk. The war had begun. Pinebrook Estates wasn't fancy, but it was proud. Rows of beige two-stories with pristine lawns, American flags fluttering in the breeze, and HOA newsletters slipped neatly into mailboxes every Monday morning. Bailey and James Tillman had moved in 7 months earlier. They picked the house because of the flat streets, the quiet cul-de-sac, and the fact that it was close to Bailey's school. James, still recovering from the accident that had put him in a wheelchair, needed stability. They made it a home. James installed a smooth front ramp, a smart irrigation system, and hand-built a little free library outside for the neighborhood kids. Bailey painted the mailbox blue, one of the few non-beige touches in the entire block. Neighbors smiled, waved, some even brought casseroles. But not Karen. Karen Dorsey lived directly across. Her yard was flawless, trimmed to regulation height. Her blinds only opened halfway. She didn't wave back. She didn't bring pie. And when Bailey caught her frowning at the mailbox one afternoon, she knew. Karen was a watcher. She didn't yell. She emailed. She filed HOA complaints, 3 in the first month. The ramp violated curb aesthetics. The medical van blocked the sidewalk. The mailbox color clashed with the neutral palette. The HOA politely declined action. Bailey responded respectfully. James laughed it off. "She's just bored," he said. will outlast the noise. They tried, they really did. Bailey taught AP Computer Science and Intro to Cybersecurity at River Ridge High. Her students loved her. She organized robotics tournaments, mentored girls in tech, and built an anti-bullying app that won state awards. James worked remotely as an architectural consultant, helping design adaptive housing for disabled veterans. He was a quiet presence in the neighborhood, waved at the quiz, handed out candy on Halloween, hosted a chess night once a month. But Karen never warmed. Then came the incident with Ava. Bailey had walked James to the park that day. They were doing laps. Well, she walked, he rolled. On the third lap, they heard the hiss of spray paint, turned a corner, and there was Ava Dorsey, Karen's 15-year-old, tagging the new community sign with "Death to Hoey." James didn't yell. He gently rolled forward and said, "Hey, maybe there's a better way to say how you feel." Ava froze, dropped the can, ran. An hour later, Karen was at their doorstep, pounding. "You do not talk to my daughter, ever." James blinked. "I didn't. I saw her crying. You scared her. You people think you're so righteous." Bailey stepped between them. "Karen, Ava was vandalizing public property." James didn't threaten her. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Maybe this neighborhood isn't the right place for you." Then she walked away. 2 days later, the video appeared. The video dropped on a Tuesday. It had no sound, just grainy footage. A dark figure wheeling down Karen's driveway, pausing at her fence, reaching for something. A snap, a cut in the footage, then trash tossed, fence disturbed, fade to black. The title read, "Proof Our Neighborhood is Not Safe." The caption? "This was taken at 3:14 a.m. This man needs to be removed." Neighbors didn't wait. Comments poured in like venom. "That guy's always been off. He shouldn't even be living alone if he's unstable. Time to call the cops." Bailey found out before James did. A colleague showed her on their lunch break. Bailey said nothing, just stared at the screen, watched it twice, then walked out of the teacher's lounge, tight-lipped and pale. When she got home, James was watching TV. He hadn't seen the post yet. "James," she said softly, "you need to see this." He watched it, at first confused, then silent, then ashamed. "Do people believe this?" She didn't have to answer. Karen had weaponized the one thing James couldn't fight, public opinion. The HOA called an emergency meeting within hours. Karen strutted into the clubhouse with a manila folder and a smug grin. "I'm just doing what's right," she said. "I have a daughter to protect." Bailey sat beside James, said nothing. But back at school, her students weren't quiet. Miles, her star senior, was already at work. He and a few classmates had downloaded the video, stripped the metadata, and ran it through a forensic filter. "No way this is real," Miles said. "See the lighting glitch? That's not a shadow. That's a rendering error." Another student, Julia, compared the background timestamp with satellite weather data. Karen's video shows rain. It didn't rain that night. By fifth period, they had a list of anomalies. Inconsistent frame rates, missing audio channels, and evidence of face mapping, all signs of AI-generated content. Bailey didn't ask them to help. They just did. The next day, Miles slipped her a flash drive. "You're going to want this for the meeting." Bailey reviewed it that night, frame by frame. Her breath caught when she saw the original clip Karen used. A public video from a home security forum 5 years ago. Same fence, different yard, deepfaked. She stayed up until 2 a.m. writing her report. Not emotional, not angry, just precise. On Thursday, the HOA reconvened. Karen arrived early, wore pearls, carried a binder. Bailey walked in late, calm, silent, flash drive in hand. "Before we go further," she said, "I'd like to present some evidence." The screen lit up, side-by-side comparisons. Metadata, timestamps, original source footage, gasps, whispers. Karen's smile cracked. That's not what I posted," she stammered. "That's been edited." Bailey didn't blink. "No, Karen, what you posted was edited, faked, illegally." Karen turned to the board. "You're seriously going to believe this over a mother trying to protect her child?" James finally spoke. "I don't need protection. I need the truth." And in that moment, the room shifted. Bailey handed over a printed dossier. "This has already been submitted to the local cybercrimes division. But I thought the community deserved to know first. The HOA president cleared his throat. We'll reconvene tomorrow. This meeting is adjourned. Karen stormed out. Bailey and James stayed seated. They didn't need to chase her. The facts were already doing that. That night, Karen posted again. Another photo, this time James rolling down the sidewalk. Caption, staring into our windows now, what's next? It didn't matter that he was heading to the mailbox. The damage was done. Bailey didn't respond. She prepared. The next morning, she sent out a formal request to the HOA. I would like 5 minutes to respond to the allegations publicly. They granted it. At the clubhouse, the chairs were full. Some came out of curiosity. Others came to see a man get shamed. Karen stood in front, smiling politely, flipping through her binder. Bailey waited her turn, then stood, calm, firm, confident. My name is Bailey Tillman. Most of you know me as a teacher. What you don't know, what you weren't supposed to know, is that I spent nearly a decade working for the Department of Justice. A few heads turned. Someone in the back muttered, "Wait, what?" Bailey continued, "My specialty was digital forensics and AI manipulation. I trained federal officers to detect deepfakes. I testified in Washington. I helped write the initial legislation that criminalized synthetic media used in harassment cases." Karen froze. Bailey turned to the projector. "What you've all seen over the past few days is a lie, a weapon, and it could have worked if my students hadn't caught it first." The screen lit up again, this time with official federal documentation, authentication hashes, image sequence comparisons, a timeline showing how the fake video had been created, shared, and linked back to Karen's IP address. Gasps. Someone near the front dropped their pen. Karen's voice cracked. "This is character assassination. You're all being manipulated." "No," Bailey said evenly. "You manipulated everyone else. And you did it using a technology you don't even understand." Ava stood in the back, silent, red-faced. She didn't defend her mother. She didn't move. Bailey looked directly at Karen. "You didn't just hurt my husband. You discredited an entire community of disabled people. You told your daughter it was okay to lie as long as it made you feel powerful. And you nearly got an innocent man arrested. For what? Ego?" The HOA president raised a hand. "Mrs. Tillman, is there a law enforcement investigation open?" Bailey nodded. "Yes, the video has been submitted to the local police and the FBI's cybercrime division. It meets the criteria for digital defamation and synthetic harassment." Karen sat down hard. Her binder dropped to the floor. A long silence followed. Then James wheeled forward, slowly, with control. "I didn't ask for this fight," Dee said, "but I won't be erased." He turned, rolled back beside his wife, took her hand. Bailey smiled, not triumphant, just tired, but standing tall. The meeting ended in silence, but no one doubted what they'd just witnessed. Karen didn't speak again. And for the first time since they moved in, the neighborhood looked at the Tillmans, not with suspicion, but with respect. The next day, a squad car parked across from Karen's house. Not to arrest her, yet, but to deliver a subpoena. An officer handed her the envelope as neighbors peeked through curtains. Karen tried to act unfazed, but her hand trembled as she signed the receipt. The HOA issued a formal announcement that afternoon. Effective immediately, Karen Dorsey's privileges in the Pinebrook Estates HOA are suspended pending legal investigation. That meant no access to the community center, pool, forums, voting rights, or any platform where she could continue spreading disinformation. But the consequences didn't stop there. Parents at River Ridge began contacting the school. Some demanded action, others voiced support for Bailey and James. The superintendent issued a public statement praising Bailey's composure and her students' exceptional ethical courage. Meanwhile, Bailey continued teaching like nothing had happened. Her classroom became a quiet sanctuary of truth. No mention of the incident, just science, logic, and quiet determination. James returned to us routines. Slowly, he rolled through the streets again, head high. The first time, a few people crossed to the other side. The second time, someone waved. By the end of the week, 3 neighbors had come to apologize. "We should have asked questions," one of them said. "We just believed what we saw." James smiled. "It's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay that way." Karen, on the other hand, found herself isolated. Ava avoided her at home, barely speaking. Her social media went dark. The binder she once carried like a weapon now sat untouched on the dining room table. A formal charge came 2 weeks later: digital defamation, intentional distribution of manipulated media, false reporting, a fine, community service, and a permanent digital footprint she couldn't erase. She wasn't sent to prison, but the court ordered her to attend a mandated ethics course on AI and misinformation. Bailey was asked to guest lecture. She declined. "I don't teach for revenge," she told the organizers. "I teach for the next generation." Instead, one of her students, Miles, spoke at the session, nervous but clear. "We're entering a world where truth is harder to prove," he said, "but that doesn't mean we stop trying." The room was silent, including Karen. 1 month later, a moving truck arrived outside her house. Karen didn't say goodbye. She didn't knock on anyone's door. She just packed, loaded boxes, and disappeared. When James and Bailey walked past the now empty lawn, there was no celebration, just peace. "Ready to plant that garden?" Bailey asked. James looked at the lot beside the community center. "Yeah, let's start next week." Bailey smiled. "Call it the Truth Garden?" He laughed. "That name's growing on me." Spring came early that year. The trees bloomed fast, like they were in a hurry to leave winter behind. James and Bailey stood side by side in an empty lot near the community center. James held a small shovel. Bailey carried a sketch pad with mock-ups of raised beds, wheelchair-friendly pathways, and signs in 3 languages. The sign at the front read, "The Truth Garden, built on facts, grown with grace." Volunteers showed up, neighbors, students, even a few of the people who once believed Karen's lies. No one said the word sorry outright, but they didn't have to. One woman brought a flat of sunflowers. Another dropped off bags of mulch and whispered, "You two didn't deserve what happened." Bailey thanked them. James nodded. It wasn't about making them feel bad. It was about building something better. The garden took weeks. James came out every morning, checking soil levels and measuring path widths. Bailey brought iced tea and worked on lesson plans under a pop-up tent. On weekends, her students came to help. Miles designed the irrigation system. Julia hand-painted the educational signs. Compost matters. Data, like soil, must be clean. People stopped by just to sit. Even Ava. She came one afternoon alone. No phone, no makeup, just her and a packet of daffodil bulbs. "I don't expect you to forgive her," she told Bailey, "but I wanted to help." Bailey took the bulbs. "Then plant them, but not for her, for you." They knelt side by side, said nothing. James watched from a distance. He didn't wave, just smiled. That night, the neighborhood group posted a photo of the finished garden. No drama, no accusations, just flowers and people and sunlight. Caption: "Pinebrook gets a fresh start." The comments were different this time. "Beautiful work." "Thank you, Tillmans. My kids love the sensory path." Bailey closed her laptop, turned to James. "We did it." James shook his head. "No, we just reminded people what real looks like." They sat on the porch until dusk. No sirens, no posts, just quiet. Sometimes justice doesn't look like punishment. Sometimes it looks like peace. And in Pinebrook Estates, peace had finally returned. And this time it was real.